chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material in use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S.
To stop the fiery arrows of the devil, put on salvation as your helmet, and take the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, Jesus Christ. So put on the armor of God, Jesus Christ. We love you, God, so we do it for God, Jesus Christ. Belt of truth, Jesus Christ. So we do it for. We love you, God. Chestplate, Jesus Christ of righteousness. We love you, God. Shoes of peace, stomping on the enemy. God. Jesus Christ, we love you, God. So we do it for. Shield, Jesus Christ of faith. Voice! Jesus Christ! We love you, God! The helmet of salvation! Jesus Christ! Look, there's the enemy! Look, there's the enemy! So we hold up the sword of truth, Jesus Christ. We love you, God. Shield of faith, Jesus Christ. And we fight that holy war. And we win. Jesus Christ, I love y'all. Jesus Christ, continue fighting that good fight and loving each other.
Yeah. Kings. Yeah. Coming straight out of the Nile, I'ma tell you about a great big liar. Yeah, Egyptians was not white. Them college niggas ain't right. Built the pyramid. Look at them lips, look at them hips. That booty so round, you know that girl be brown. So you mean that we was like, whoa? We was kings and shit, boy, you know that it is true. We was kings and shit, nigga, what you gonna do? Ramses was black, Tutankhamun was black. Y'all know Cleo was black. Who made it into space? Nigga, that was the black race.
You're welcome.
They're covering it up in the books. Bunch of cracker-ass crooks.
Tell it again.
You can even go out of Egypt, find out who the real chosen people. Mozart, Beethoven, King George, Vikings. They was all black.
We was kings and shit, boy, you know that it is true. We was kings and shit, nigga, what you gonna do? So what you're saying is like, but what you all is talking about is, do you mean that we was like, what, brothers and sisters, blood runs through us, the whole and battle of pressing on yours. Just remember this one little thing. We was kings and shit, but you know that it is true. We was kings and shit. Nigga, what you gonna do? I don't even know what I'm saying no more, dude. Shit.
El autor viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La debilidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
Testing 1, 2, 3. I think we got sound. Obviously, I always try to check it, as you know how it is. Hope y'all are doing well. I am going to go through a session today with y'all. Hope you can appreciate it. I think y'all will like it. You know, obviously we're getting deeper into these particular things, and it only makes sense, right? Why not? Anyhow, title, Your Desperate Charade is Dead. Dead. Now, why do I say that, man? Because it's like the more you dig, the more you find out, and the more honest you are with the more honest you are with yourself that, you were wrong, the better it is to, see things for as they come. Because more info is going to come, okay? I got something interesting for you. All right, so, again, I'm going to put this out, and you guys obviously going to see the sources and, study and apply it to yourselves and see if it resonates. But don't question something unless you actually listen to the whole thing, okay? Again, same book as last time, The Jesus Mysteries. We left off in the Encoded Secret Teachings. All right, I'm going to touch on this a little bit, and then we're going to move on to another book that I have that I want to share with you, okay? Because it's going to talk about pretty much what the initiates went through, right? The procession of their celebrations. I'm going to show a little bit of that. But in the meantime, let's continue with this Jesus mystery, decoding. All right, it says Encoded Secret Teachings, right? So in the same book here, let's continue. in antiquity, the word mythos did not mean something untrue as it does for us today. Superficially, a myth was an entertaining story, but to the initiated, remember that word, it was a sacred code that contained profound spiritual teachings. Now, Plato, and remember the links that I shared with you all about the verses that Paul referenced, so to speak, and that they were basically the same as what Plato or Socrates or Seneca were saying. All of them were initiates of the mystic religion. Okay, so let's be mindful of that. All of them were. All right. So it says now, it looks as if those it looks as if those also who established rites of initiation for us were no fools, but that there is a hidden meaning in their teaching. He explains that it is those who have given their lives through true philosophy, right, who grasp the quote unquote hidden meaning encoded in the mystery myth, and became completely identified with the God-man in an experience of mystical enlightenment. Okay? Now, watch this real quick. I wanted to touch on that just a little bit. Now let's get to the international. I'll start here. Mysteries were divided into various levels of initiation, keep in mind, which led and initiate step by step through even deeper levels of understanding. Now, the number of levels of initiation varied in different mystery traditions, but essentially the initiate was led from the outer mysteries into which the myth were understood superficially as a religious story, as religious stories, to the inner mysteries into which the myth were revealed as spiritual allegory. So, for example, you guys, let's say, you go to church, right? That whole process of church, Catholicism, whatever it is, right? Well, specifically Catholicism. You see every Sunday, and they got a process, right? The priest, and then he's got his altar boys, and he's got an assistant. Then he's got people that read certain verses before he reads the main verse. Then he's got music and people dancing. Then collecting what do you call it, their 10%, all of that stuff, right? Like, you understand that. So this is what it means by that. So, for example, if we were in those times, the outer mysteries would be like you going to church. All that procession and the Eucharist and the Virgin Mary and Jesus and not real mention of God. It's mostly the woman and the son. It's always been this particular type of religion, this mystery, right? And this is, listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. Kabbalist, Talmudist, all of those Freemasons, the ones that talk about mystical shit, Satanism, all of that stuff is all basically one thing. It's no different. Catholicism, Christianity, you know what I mean? Like, trust and believe. That's why they take you to those, what do you call those Christian fucking universities? All of them have to learn that. And they have an initiation. They probably, those that don't understand the inner parts, they just keep them as the outer, priest, whatever. You don't know that much. And then those other full ones, they go like Opus Dei type of shit. You know what I mean? That they go into the mysticism. This is no different. This is really going on right now in the churches. And you'll see as I continue to explain this and read this. It says, first, the initiates were ritually purified. Then they were taught the secret teachings on a one-on-one basis. And it's no different in BHI. The Black Hebrew Israelites, all those little fucking camps and shit, cultist motherfuckers, right? It's the same concept. It's all, I'll break it down for you, brother. Because, your spirit is discerning the word, brother. It's stupid shit, bro. You're all just teaching Freemasonry. I mean, you already know what it is. It's not just Freemasonry. You could pick any fucking direction that you want, right? Or any pagan myth. And that's what they're currently doing this day. It says, the highest stage was when the initiate understood the true meaning of the teachings and finally experienced the theon of Smyrna, called friendship and interior communion with God. Now, here's where it gets interesting. All right? The international mysteries. The mysteries dominated the pagan world. The mysteries dominated the pagan world, okay? No other deity is represented on the mountains of ancient Greece and Italy, as much as Dionysus, God-man of the Eleusinian mysteries. Do you understand this? Dionysus, basically Osiris, Bacchus, or Jesus. Dionysus has exactly the same line, traditions, and all of these things. So this in Greece and Italy, you think that Jesus is new to them? No, it was just named different. To us, they made you think it was new. It's not. He is a deity with many names. Icus, Basarus, Bromius, Euus, Sabricius, Sagreus, Ionius, I believe, Ios, Eleutherus, like Eleutherus, and so the list goes on, right? But these are just some of his Greek names. So again, who are we talking about? Dionysus. He had a variety of names with the same traditions, the same parables in the New Testament, the same shit that the Gospels talk about. No different. The God-man is an omnipresent mythical figure. Now remember this, by the way, Eleusinian mysteries. We're going to touch on this in a little bit. The God-man is an omnipresent mythic figure throughout the ancient Mediterranean, known in different ways by many cultures. 5 centuries before the birth of Christ, the Greek historian Herodotus, known as the father of history, who was also an initiate, a mystic in these practices, discovered this when he traveled to Egypt. Do you see what I'm saying? On the shores of a sacred lake in the Nile Delta, he witnessed an enormous festival held every year in which the Egyptians performed a dramatic spectacle before tens of thousands of men and women, representing the death and resurrection of Osiris. What do you think that looks like? I'll show you what that looks like, okay? It shouldn't be a surprise. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be a surprise. Watch this. Here's good. Let me see. What are you doing? Hold on. Let me do this real quick. Let's see real quick. Let me see. Got church. I'm going to try to show you an example. Okay. Give me a moment. Let me see if I can find something real quick because I don't want to get them to like block my shit. No, that's not it. I'm gonna do. Let me see. Church play. All right. Let me see if I can find one. All right, here it goes. So we'll do this one here. You see what I mean? So it's talking about right there that that Herodotus, on the shores of a sacred lake in the Nile Delta, he witnessed an enormous festival held every year in which the Egyptians perform a dramatic spectacle before tens of thousands of men and women, representing the death and resurrection of Osiris. What do you think that means? It's like this, fam. It's no different than this, okay? It's no different than this, all right? Check this out. Aren't they trying to reenact the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ? That's exactly what they're doing.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Hey, what up, Eastside? Good to have you here, brother. Recall this book that I've been sharing with you in the same material, and I think it's got to be this one, where it talks about how they went through about processions, you know what I mean, and people would like walk and go from one place to another, and then they would get beaten up. Let me see if I can get it to you guys. I think it was here. Here it goes, right here. It says, each year, some 30,000 Athenian citizens embarked on a 30-kilometer barefoot pilgrimage to the sacred site of Eleusis on the coast to celebrate the autumn mysteries of Dionysus. For days, they would have been preparing for the important religious event for fasting, offering sacrifice, and undergoing ritual purification. You see, the same shit that we just read earlier. As those about to be initiated dance along the sacred way to Lucius, accompanied by frenzied beats of cymbals and tambourines, they were accosted by masked men who abused and insulted them, while others beat them with sticks. At the head of the procession was carried the statue of Dionysus himself. Don't they do that with the whole concept of Jesus? They do that with the whole concept of Jesus. So again, you know, I'm not saying that the Egyptians performed this exact same ritual, but it's the ritual of, I was going to share that with you later. It was the ritual of death and resurrection. Same concept, right? You're here getting his ass kicked, right? Right? And then he ends up in a cross and he dies, and then three days later he resurrects.
You can go.
And you're gonna see how all of this starts making sense when you realize, like, dude, this happens over and over and over again, right? Again, death and resurrection of Osiris. Herodotus was an initiate into the Greek mysteries, told you, and recognized what he calls the passion of Osiris, or the passion of Christ. Where do you think they got that title from? You know what I mean? Like, let's stop lying to ourselves. Stop lying to yourselves. And this goes to you brothers that I care about y'all. If I'm even in a chat and something and I'm sharing this, it's because I'm telling you, like, some of you may respond to me by using a verse in the New Testament, but you're not seeing what I'm telling you. It's like, step back for a moment. Where does that verse come from? It's not in the Old Testament. So where else does that come from? You see what I mean? This is important because we are running into the same shit that the Old Testament has constantly been warning us about. Was the very same drama, right? So it says here, and recognize what he calls the passion of Osiris was the very same drama that initiates saw enacted before them at the Eleusis as the passion of Dionysus, passion of Christ, meaning what? The whole sacrificial process, this whole thing. I mean, seriously, like, what is this anyhow? You know, at what point? Anyways, let me continue. The Egyptians' myth of Osiris is the primal myth of the mystery God-man. You understand this? The Egyptian myth of Osiris is the primal myth of the mystery God-man and reaches back to prehistory. His story is so ancient that it can be found in pyramid texts written over 4,500 years ago. That's why this book has the image of, like, this man on a cross with 7 stars above and like an actual crescent. And we're going to touch on that pretty soon too. Orpheus Bacchus, or Orpheus Bacchus, meaning Orpheus Dionysus, or Osiris Dionysus for that matter. Okay? That says that in traveling to Egypt, Herodotus was following in the footsteps of another Greek. Before 670, before Common Era, Egypt had been a closed country in a matter of Tibet, and Japan more recently. But in this year, she opened her borders, and one of the first Greeks who traveled there in search of ancient wisdom was Pythagoras. History remembers Pythagoras as the first scientist of the Western world. But remember, and I believe Pythagoras, this is the individual that went and talked to people in India and people in Egypt and all over those regions and shit, Buddha, Hindu, all of that stuff, right? Like, that's why some interpret him to be like Jesus, or that other Jesus, quote unquote, that he went around and traveled and he was like a fucking Hindu and shit. All right, and okay, let's continue. To his contemporaries, he would have seemed anything but scientific in the modern sense. Okay, now it says here, a wandering charismatic sage dressed in white robes, crowned with a gold coronet. Pythagoras was part scientist, part priest, and part magician. And back then, they're all the same thing. He spent 22 years in the Temple of Egypt, becoming an initiate of the ancient Egyptian mysteries. What a Freemasonry right now. That's why they need the King James Bible. On returning to Greece, he began to preach the wisdom he had learned, performing miracles, raising the dead, and giving oracles. That's your Lucifer in the Bible. That's your Lucifer in the Bible. The light bearer. On returning to Greece, he began to preach the wisdom he had learned, performing miracles, raising the dead, and giving oracles. Inspired by Pythagoras, his disciples created a Greek mystery religion modeled on the Egyptian mysteries. They took the indigenous wine god Dionysus, who was a minor deity, but all ignored by Hesiod and Homer, and transformed him into a Greek version of the mighty Egyptian Osiris, godman of the mysteries. This initiated a religious and cultural revolution that was to transform Athens into the center of the civilized world, so they say, right? So, who this guy was, you guys can pretty much touch on that, blah, blah, blah. Forced to live in the fringe, da-da-da-da-da. Let's see, living them to free, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, let's continue. Let me continue to the next page, right? Nevertheless, the mystery religion spread quickly amongst the ordinary people, and within a few generations, the Egyptian mysteries of Osiris, now the mysteries of Dionysus, inspired the glory of classical Athens. You see how all of this is pretty much connected, repetitive? In the same way that Osiris was synthesized by the Greeks and their indigenous god Dionysus to create the Greek mysteries, other Mediterranean cultures which adopted the mystery religion also transformed one of their indigenous deities into the dying and resurrected mystery God-man. So they all started taking upon this Jesus-like character. Dying, resurrecting individual. Dying, resurrecting individual, right? Hey, sis, how you doing? Good evening. Good to have you here. That's what it's basically saying. We keep saying it. The dying and resurrecting God-man. So the deity who was known as Osiris in Egypt became Dionysus in Greece, was called Attis in Asia Minor, Adonis in Syria, Bacchus in Italy, Mithra in Persia, and Jesus today. His forms were many, but essentially he was the same perennial figure whose collective identity was referred to as Osiris Dionysus. You see that? Egyptian, Greek, Roman, that's Jesus. I don't care how you want to slice it. You cannot ignore this. Because the ancients recognized that all the various mystery God-men were essentially the same mythic being. Elements from different myths and rites were continually combined and recombined to create new forms of the mystery. Why do you think Freemasonry or even Satanism believe in Jesus Christ? Satanists do. They don't call him Jesus. They call him Lucifer. Oh, I'm going to show you. I'm not saying just things. I'm going to show you. I am going to show you. In Alexandria, for example, a characteristic sage called Timotheus consciously fused Osiris and Dionysus to produce a new deity for the city called Serapis. Do you understand now? So do you see the renaming? Isn't this what the Cracker Barrels love to do? They repackage the shit over and over and over and make it their own. He also gave an elaborate account of the myth of the mystical God-man Attis. Myth of the mystery, God-man Attis. So this mystery man or God-man is Lucifer in the New Testament. Do you understand why Freemasonry loves that? Freemasonry hates the God of the Old Testament and loves the Jesus of the New Testament. And they don't call him just Jesus like you think. That's Lucifer for them. Lucius Apuleius received his initiation into the Egyptian mysteries from high priests named after the Persian god-man Mithras. You see? Coins were minted with Dionysus represented on one side and Mithra on the other. One modern authority tells us that the possessed by the knowledge of his own secret rites, the initiates of the mysteries found no difficulty in conforming to any religion in vogue. You see this? It's like, for example, the mysteries are so similar that in one end you can be a Catholic or a Seventh-day Adventist or a Protestant or a Pentecostal or a Jehovah's Witness or a BHI or an apologetist. You know what I mean? Like, or a Satanist. I'm telling you. There you go. That's a good way to put it. Religions. Right? We'll look up the definition of read. Don't let me forget. It says like the Christian, listen, I guess it says it before I even read it. Like the Christian religion which superseded it, the mysteries reached across the national boundaries, offering a spirituality which was relevant to all human beings, regardless of their racial origins or social status. So these religions or gods, you see this? You see how they function, right? The savior of all. Even as early as the 5th century before Common Era, philosophers such as Diogenes, right? Diogenes and Socrates called themselves cosmopolitans or politicians, right? Citizens of the cosmos, so to speak. Rather than, well, not politicians, cosmopolitans, I guess. Citizens of the cosmos. Rather than any other particular country or culture, which is testimony to the international nature of mysteries. All right, so we're going to get somewhere real quick. Let me skip all day. Well, matter of fact, let me continue reading this. One modern scholar commenting on the merging and combining of different mystery traditions writes, this went a long way towards weaning the minds of men from the idea of separate gods from the different nations, towards teaching them that all national and local deities were but different forms of one great power, which is what Christianity is teaching. But for the rise of Christianity and other religions, there can be little doubt, but the whole of the Greco-Roman deities would continually have merged into Dionysus. Now, here's the similarities between these two: Osiris, Dionysus, and Jesus Christ. Oh, that's what I was trying to share with you. Check this out, fam. It's a little funny shit, but I think it's fucking good. At one point, I thought it was cool, but now, it's crazy now.
The arm of God, Jesus Christ. We love you, God, so we do it for God. Jesus Christ. Belt of truth. Jesus Christ. So we do it for. We love you, God. Chestplate. Jesus Christ of righteousness. We love you, God.
And this is what happens when you follow all that kind of stupid shit. Foolishness. That's a good point. Esoteric is the religion taught to the public. Like you go to church, you read on the weekends, whatever. You go to the little gatherings. Esoteric is what's practiced in secret among the initiated, those within. Because you wonder, like, how come these guys are like way involved? That's because of that. They wait for you to see if you're able to handle that. Osiris Dionysus had such universal appeal. Yeah, shit. Yeah, Jesus Christ. It's funny. Osiris Dionysus had such universal appeal because listen to this. Osiris/Dionysus had such universal appeal. Universal religion is Catholicism, because he was seen as an everyman figure who symbolically represented each initiate. Now, keep in mind, Osiris Dionysus died, born of a virgin, died for your sins, bread, blood, all of that shit. Okay. Matter of fact, let me show you right now. I'll give you an example. Let's see, where is it at? Here it goes right here. Check this out. All right. We're going to touch on a couple of things. Similarities between the Christ of different cults. So here it says Buddha and the House of Horus and in Krishna, right? It just, I want to go a little quicker because I'm going to share something like an Excel that's beneath. Mithra, the Persian sun god. Then it says here, watch this. So now it gathers together all of the gods that believe the same thing. He was a father of a carpenter. Jesus' father, Krishna, same thing. Gift as birth, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna. His birth was accompanied by mangs or angels. Jesus, Buddha, Horus, Osiris, Krishna, Mithra. His birth was announced by a star. Very true. And we're going to get deep into this here real quick. He was born of a virgin, all of them too. Born December 25th, these 4. Born in poverty, these 3. Head adorned not of a snake, these 2. I don't know what they mean by that with Jesus. It was both the Son and Godfather, and God the Father, 1, 3. The law, he came to teach the law, born of royal descent. You guys can see which gods. He taught in the 12 temples. You see which gods. He had the 12 disciples. He was baptized in water. Mithra too, by the way. I don't know why they left that out. He disappeared as a young man. Jesus, Krishna did the same thing. Returned to preach at 30. So Jesus, Attis, Phrygia, Dionysius, Bacchus, Mithra, they all had the same story. Krishna too, by the way. Primarily uses parables, for his sermons. This bread is my body. Jesus, Buddha, Dionysius, and Mithra all had the same concept. The Mithras believed that the bread was the body of the flesh, and the blood was the actual, suppose the bread was the body, the wine was the blood. So now, when you hear in the verses where it says that they ate the flesh of man and the blood as well, that's what they were doing. They were celebrating the birth of a child to die for the sins of man and be resurrected. So they would eat the child and drink the blood. That's what these initiates were doing back then. It's clearly what they were doing. Okay, so you see all of this. Look, he performed miracles, he healed diseases, he fed the masses, walked on water, disciples were vowed to poverty, gave sermons, transfigured mountains, died on a cross. He died on a cross between 2 thieves. Matter of fact, Krishna was on that too, so was Mithra, so was Sol Invictus. They left him out. Death of humanity, he descended into hell. 3 days later, came back, tomb was open. Look, tomb was open. Oh, it was just him. Supernatural powers, Krishna too. So did Mithra. He raised the dead. Or you see what I mean? The Most High, our Lord, our Master. I need to watch that, man. I need to watch what I'm saying with that. Light of the world, the God of gods, the Father of the world, all powerful, the one knowing thing, the one knows everything, the Redeemer, the Holy Spirit, the blessed, the omnipotent, the King of kings, the eternal Father, the bearer of sins. You see, the bearer of sins, the good shepherd, the carpenter, the infinite, the eternal. Alpha and Omega. Where do you see that in the scriptures? And who does it apply to? And not in the Old Testament. Savior, anointed, the ram, the lamb, the way, the truth, the light, the Messiah, the anointed Son, the God, the verb of fisherman, the flesh of God, Jesus or Jesus. And that's going to blow your mind when I show you something about that. Logos, the verb, the fisherman, the fisher of men. See? How is that any different? Dionysius had such a universal appeal because he was seen in every man figure who symbolically represented each initiate. Through understanding the allegoric myth of the mystery God-man, initiates would become aware that, like Osiris, Dionysius, they were also God made flesh. They too were immortal spirit trapped within a physical body. Through sharing in death of Osiris, Dionysius, initiates symbolically died to their lower earthly nature. Through sharing his resurrection, they were spiritually reborn and experienced their internal and divine essence. It's what the Talmudic shit talks about, but not with Jesus concept, meaning God level. 7 man, Jacob's ladder. Freemasonry talks about that all the time, right? And this is the whole part of chakra. This is where you got a lot of these physiologists that are now getting into biology and using supposedly the concept of physiology, meaning the mind, to dictate biology, which means the mind manifests the biology. It's the same shit. Now they're just going back to the arguments of the old time. Now they're arguing for scientists. Now these, I don't know what to call them, are anti-Darwinism. Do you get what I mean? So anyway, let's continue. Side point. This was the profound mythical teachings of the myth of Osiris, Dionysius, encoded for those initiated into the inner mysteries, the truth of which initiates directly experience for themselves. So for example, once you're like in it really involved, like in Freemasonry, 33 degrees supposedly, they tell you, yo, this is Lucifer. Lucifer himself. The Egyptians of every period in which they are known to us believe that Osiris was of divine origin, that he suffered death and mutilation at the hands of the power of evil, that after great struggle with these powers, he rose again, that he became henceforth the king of the underworld and judged the dead, and that because he had conquered death, the righteous might also conquer death. Same thing with Jesus. He represented man, the idea of a man who was both God and man. He typified to the Egyptians in all ages by being who, by reasons of his suffering and death as a man, could sympathize with them in their own sickness and death. This is exactly the Gospels. And this is what Paul reiterates. The idea of this human personality also satisfied their cravings and yearnings for communion with a being who, though he was partly divine, yet much in common with themselves. Remember this verse here real quick? This is where they trick you. And again, this is where they trick you. But by the way, they can't prove who wrote this. I think it's this one. Hebrews 2:16. For verily he took not on him the nature of angels, but he took on himself the seed of Abraham. Meaning, he became just like you, Ak. If I can do it, you can do it too, Holmes. Jesus Christ. Originally, they looked upon Osiris as a man who lived on earth as they lived and who ate and drank and who suffered a cruel death, who by help of certain gods triumphed over death and attained over unto everlasting life. But what Osiris did, they could also do. You see, it's the same shit. Let's see. We're almost going to cover this, and then I'm going to move on to another book. There are the key motives that characterize the myths of all the mystery godmen. But Budge writes of a Osiris could equally be said of Dionysus, Adonis, Mithra, and Jesus as well. It also describes the Jewish dying and resurrecting God-man Jesus Christ. You see that? It also describes the Jewish dying and resurrecting God-man of Jesus Christ. Like Osiris and Dionysus, he is also God incarnate, God of resurrection. He also promises followers spiritual rebirth through sharing in his divine passion. You see? So when I get presented that, hey, you want to argue with me about the New Testament, everything that's in the New Testament, other God-men have done this, have said the same shit. Then there is more lack of evidence. And what I mean by that is that you cannot precept a lot of the parables that Jesus talks about with the Old Testament. You cannot. A lot of them, you cannot precept them. There's more of a chance that I can put doubt in where those precepts came from than anybody proving that they came from there. You can't go to another verse and say, well, this verse said of this promising thing. Okay, I get it. But that parable, like walking on water, where did he get that from? Where did the Old Testament say he was going to walk on water? Like where? And then where does this in the Old Testament say that he was going to do miracles? And where did the Old Testament say that he was going to resurrect men without judging them? You see what I mean? So it's like Matthew 27. He supposedly resurrected, then he brought people from the dead, and there were fucking zombies walking around the towns, and nobody writes about them. That should be, that should be important, right? But again, like, where do you hear that from? Who was doing this too? Didn't we just read earlier that this Pythagoras was going around fucking, resurrecting the dead? Same shit. It is also, like Osiris and Isis, he is also the God incarnate, the God of the resurrection, promises followers spiritual rebirth through the sharing in his divine passion. Conclusion, the mysteries were clearly an extremely powerful force in the ancient world. Let's review what we've discovered about them. The pagan mysteries inspired the great minds of the ancient world. They practiced in different forms. They comprise of outer mysteries, right? All that stuff. Let me get to the point. With the myth of... Okay, so hold on, let me go back. At the heart of the mysteries was the myth of the dying and resurrected God-man, Osiris, right? The inner mysteries revealed the myth of Osiris to the... Oh, there it goes. The inner mysteries revealed the myth of Osiris, Dionysus, to the spiritual allegories encoding spiritual teachings. Allegorics like in the Bible. The question which intrigued us was whether the mysteries could have somehow influenced the shape what we have inherited as a biography of Jesus. Unlike the various pagan mysteries, God-men, Jesus is traditionally viewed as a historical rather than a mythical figure. Literary, a man who was an incarnate of God, who suffered and died, resurrected to bring salvation to all humankind. But could these elements of Jesus' story actually be mythical stories inherited from pagan mysteries? I believe so. I truly believe so. All right, so then we're going to pause here for a moment, and I want to bring to your attention to some things here. Okay, so
Remember, I had read before the Eleusinian. This right here. The Eleusinian mysteries. Okay? So this book here, we're going to come back to page 37. It's called the Eleusinian Mysteries and Riots by Dudley Wright. Okay? Printed, I believe, when is it? I thought I saw the year. Okay, well, I don't see the year. Anyway, so you guys can look it up. We're only going to look at some pages here because I want to take you through the initiation. It's crazy. So, like, just to give you an idea, I was raised Catholic, right? And I was like an altar boy for like 2 years. So I learned like the whole process of a church. You go in and, you follow the priest and you carry the tools or the little swing with the fucking incense and the music's on, you know what I mean? You wear certain, garments and then you walk up there. There's a way to, you walk one way, they walk another way. Then, the priest sits down and you get the first reader and then he brings up a verse and then people sing and, people stand up, sit down. So all of this process, you think like, where the fuck did they get it from? Obviously you think like, man, it must be real because like who structures this? We're going to read right now, like all of this practice where it came from in a sense, okay? Maybe some of you guys may see it, maybe some of you guys may not. It says the rituals of the mystery. The Hierophant, which was the priest, was a revealer of holy things. He was a citizen of Athens, a man of mature age, and held his office for life, okay? Devoting himself wholly to the service of the temple and living a chaste life, to which end it was usual for him to anoint himself with the juice of hemlock, which by its extreme coldness was said to extinguish in a great measure of natural heat. All right, so check this out. In the opinion of some writers, celibacy was an indispensable condition of the highest branch of the priesthood. So now we're seeing some celibacy practices, and we're talking about some priests. That's what they do, attend to the church, right? Now, these are all, remember, keep in mind, the rule was that during this, okay, so this is basically specific about the celibacy part, all right? So let's continue. Remember, it's talking about the same towns or areas that we just read, all right? Let's not lose ourselves. Here's where he wears. So let's see. He had to be exemplary in his moral conduct, and he was regarded by the people as being particularly holy. The qualifications of a hierophant were so high that the office could not be regarded as hereditary, for it would have been an exception for both father and son in possessions of many various and high qualifications, regarded as an essential to the holding of the office. The robe of the hierophant was a long purple garment. Long purple garment. Watch this. The Pope with a purple garment. See?
Who are you?
Purple garment. Purple garment. Purple garment. Understand now? All right. So we got a purple garment here. It's highlighted. His hair crowned with a wreath of myrtle. Like, that whole shape that the Romans do. Flowed his long locks over his shoulders, and a diadem ornamented in his forehead. So he had like some shit in his forehead. And I guess that's where they put the cross in your forehead. Ash Wednesday, they do Ash Wednesday and they put that fucking cross in your forehead and shit. I always wondered why. But I believe that this ornament in a forehead, it was like the third eye concept. Again, we're looking at a constant repetitive practice of the same religion over and over. Mom and son and some father in the sky. Mom virgin, son is born, and he's born to die for the sins of man. That's why you get all these religions in the Old Testament, and it talks about them child sacrifice. It's because that's what they wanted, the child to come to die for your sins. And they would eat his flesh and drink his blood. That's why in the New Testament, Jesus says, here I am, here's drink his bread, is my body, here's his wine, is my blood. Obviously, people nowadays probably aren't crazy enough to do that shit, or else they'll call you Satanist, but you basically are one.
Wait a minute. minute.
So it says here, it says at the celebration of the mysteries, he was held to see here. Look, at the celebration of the mysteries, he was held to represent the creator of the world. You see that? The vicar. That's what they call the Pope. The vicar. You understand what I'm saying? Right? The vicar. He alone was permitted to penetrate into the innermost shrines of the hall of the mysteries, the Holy of Holies, as it were, and then only once during the celebration of the mysteries, when at the most solemn moment of the most mystic celebration, his form appeared suddenly to be transfigured with the light before the rapt gaze of the initiated. He alone was permitted to reveal to the fully initiated the mystic objects, the sight of which marked the completion of their admission to the community. So this guy, it's like, like the head honcho of a Freemason lodge. He had the power of refusing admission to those applicants whom he deemed unfit to be entrusted in the secrets. Okay, so he was not inactive during the internal intervals between the celebration of the mysteries. Hold on, let me see. I think it didn't highlight this. That's right. This one didn't highlight my stuff. Hold on, fam. Hold on. Oh yeah. We're gonna go back to the bottom. Here it goes here. Okay, so let's hear. It says here an interesting inscription was found some years ago in Eleusis, engraved on the base of a statue erected to a hierophant. He's talking about like don't name his name and shit. You know what I mean? Like nobody names me until I die, some shit like that. But check this out. It says here one of his sons had written below this inscription after the death of his hierophant. Now we see his children reveal the name of the best of the fathers, which when I lived he hid in the depth of the sea. This is the famous Apollonius. If you guys look up that name, you're going to find out how deep that rabbit hole goes. Okay? Now, it says this is an extant epigram by a female hierophant. Okay, so basically a female hierophant, like a priest. Like Donald Trump's priest and shit. The weird ass bitch that says supposedly she talks in fucking voices. Let me go to page 41. We're going to go through this real quick. Let's see, page 41. I'll go here. Where's this 40? Yeah, I'll go to 41 right there. Okay, let me see here. So let's see. The man of the Jews, contact person blood was also issuing impurity. He was assisted by female hierophant. Okay, so he had assistance here. Okay, so then so then we have another here. I'm trying to show you guys something. Hold on. Is it on this page? Oh no, it's on the next one. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so now like the churches, they have their little assistants. Watch this. All right, it says here. This is other people. They also wore purple. This is other people that were involved in the celebrations, right? They were like torch bearers and all that shit. Here's another group. They were appointed for life and they were permitted to marry. The male the duocus particularly was associated with the hierophant in certain solemn and public functions. In public functions such as the opening address to the candidate for the initiation and in the public prayers for the welfare of the state. The office was frequently handed down from father to son. So this position wasn't necessarily by people voting. It was handed down, right? Now let's go to the next page. Here's another person. The Hierocerix, a messenger of the holy tidings, was a representative of Hermes, and Mercury, who was a messenger of God, was indispensable as mediator whenever men wished to approach the immortal, right? He also wore a purple-colored robe and a myrtle crown. So it's like when you're at church, you see this priest, you see this assistant or two next to the priest, you see the altar boys, and you see other people around. It's the same, like not exactly the same, but it's like if you're involved in like a church like that, you kind of see it, bro. You see it. I hopefully you guys can too. It says among other officials, right? The lignophori, who carried the mystic fan, the hydronoi, who purify the candidates for initiation by sprinkling them with holy water at the commencement of the festival. When the church started, I don't know if you knew this, but the priest would throw holy water at you and shit. They're walking by, by you, and they're throwing holy water at you, and they're burning the incense back and forth, right? And it says, And the spandaforio, who claimed the sacred truth, which was to permit the peaceful celebration of the mysteries. The perforio, who brought them and maintained the fire of the sacrifice. The hieraulis, who played the flute during the time of the sacrifice were being offered. They were the leaders of the sacred music. It's the same thing as a church. You have your people here, your people there, the music here, the music there, your altar boy here, your assistant to the priest there, the assistants that were reading with the priest. This is strictly where they got the concept of the church. Whenever you walk into a Sunday church again, hopefully not, but if you did, that's what you would see. Okay? Let me read on the bottom. Let's see. There were also many minor officials by the general names Melisi, bees, perhaps so-called because bees, being markers of honey, were sacred to Demeter, some other god. The Diluvian priestesses and regenerated souls were called bees. In case you don't know this, in Freemasonry, that's also an important word. You know, in Freemasonry, it is. Let me see this. This is ceremonies. Let me see. Where much was up in Mason, the fact that the ceremonies night, but also the custom Christian proposal might prepare daybreak, the custom sound of the symbol known as the Antiquilia. Oh man, is this the right page? Hold on, family. Okay, check this out. I'm gonna read this here, then we're gonna move on because this is interesting. And I saved this for a reason. Okay? Let's pay attention to this, family. We're going to go to page 51. Okay, right here. Okay. So page 51, we're looking at, here it goes. According to the Suidas, those who had to purify themselves from murder plunged into salt water on 2 separate occasions, immersing themselves 7 times in each occasion. Like, again, for the concept of 7 levels of man, right? 7 levels of man, going from the bottom to the top. On returning from the bath, they were all regarded as new creatures, meaning baptism. On returning to the bath, they were regarded as new creatures. That's why when John the Baptist is baptizing people in the river, it's the same concept. And he would call them new creatures, right? Or I think Paul calls them new creatures, right? The bath being regarded as a laver of regeneration. That's why they say baptism, you're a new creature again. And the initiates were clothed in a plain fawn skin or sheepskin. You see? Now here's where it gets interesting, okay? The purification, however, was not regarded as a complete until the following day when there was added the sprinkling of the blood of a pig sacrificed. Now, I'm sure you guys are aware of this, okay? There's several scriptures that talk about this particular thing here. I think I put it here. Just so you guys can see. Oh, no, that's not it. Where is it at? Did I leave it out? Or did I just look for it myself? Remember the verse that talks about, hold on, let me see. Is this one? Second 23? No, hold on. Second Kings. Was it? I think it's here. King went down. Oh, no, hold on. Not this one. Was it here? I'll look for it pretty soon. But there's a scriptures that talks about how, you saw people sacrificing to swine, right? Sacrificing to swine. Here's where you start seeing these practices. Each had carried to the river or lake a little pig, which was also purified by bathing. And on the next day, this pig was sacrificed. You see? Now, interestingly enough, the pig was offered because it was very pernicious to cornfields, supposedly dangerous. I don't even know if that would even make sense. On the Eleusinian coinage, the pig, standing on a torch placed horizontally, appears as a sign and symbol of the mysteries. See this? The pig standing on a porch placed horizontally appears as the sign and symbol of the mysteries. On this day also, some of the initiated substituted to a special purification near the altar of Zeus on the sacred way. For each person whom it was desired to purify, an ox was sacrificed to Zeus, Melikios, the infernal Zeus. The skin of the animal was laid on the ground by the Didauchos, and one who was the object of the illustration remained there squatting on the left foot. So I forgot to bring this up. They have like a 6-day initiation, right? And that was the second day. On the third day, they do some, other things too, right? Here's where it gets interesting. And then we're going to move on from this book. It says here, the Athenian citizens and their wives and children. Let's see. This ceremony took place in Eleusinian at the foot of the Acropolis. The day was known as the day of mourning, and it was supposed to commemorate Demeter's grief at the loss of Persephone. Okay, so it's talking about those mythologies. Now let's skip to this. It says, at the conclusion of the general ceremony, each one individually sacrificed a little pig purified in the sea the night before. Then it says the hog of propitiation offered to Frey was a solemn sacrifice in the north of Europe and in Sweden down to modern times. The custom has been preserved by baking on Christmas Eve a loaf or cake in the form of a hog. So there's like a procession for these guys to be considered initiates. On the 6th day, they are presented with some understanding. Akos was the name given to the 6th day of the festival. The fair young god, Akos or Dionysus, Jesus or Bacchus, right, was the son of Jupiter and Ceres, the god in the spirit, the god in the sky, and the mother virgin, and accompanied the goddess in her search for Persephone. He also carried a torch. Hence, his statue has always a torch in the hand. This statue, together with other sacred objects, were taken from the Iconian, the sanctuary of Icos in Athens, mounted in a heavy, rustic, four-wheeled chariot drawn by bulls and accompanied by the Icogog and the magistrates nominated for the occasion. It's crazy, man. Last part, promise. Then it says here, halts were made during the procession in various shrines at the site of the house of Petatulis, who it was said received the goddess in his house, and according to an inscription on his tomb, she required him by revealing to him the culture of the fig, particularly at a fig tree, which was regarded as sacred because it had been renowned of being planted by Vitalis. And I kind of find it weird because, in the gospel, Jesus talks about this fig tree shit. And again, I'm trying to express to you the initiations, the process, the involvements, like the practices, what did they sacrifice, in what way, in what names. Okay, so just like I shared this link with you before, right? This one. Let me share now in detail pretty much more things. Buddha, okay? Similarities between the Christ of different cults. The birth of Buddha was announced to his mother Maya in a dream by the Holy Spirit. Royal birth, performed miracles, wonders, healed the sick. He fed 500 people from a small basket of cake. He walked on water. He crushed the head of a snake. He abolished idolatry. He was sower of words. Remember the whole 4 seeds? That's where Socrates gets that concept of the sower. Homer writes about the concept of a sower or the seed being sowed. In the way that he expresses it, it's like you have to be selective with certain minds because you can't just give a certain seed to a certain mind because it won't grow, right? Now, that's in the whole philosophical matter. These guys were more like in the, well, I guess you could say esoteric too. Shit. Let me continue. He was a sower of words and preached the establishment of the kingdom of justice. He taught chastity, kindness, tolerance, compassion, love. You see all that. Transfigured. He ascended to heaven, right? He was considered the good shepherd, carpenter, infinite, eternal, savior of the world, light of the world. Now, Horus, born of a virgin, December 25th in a cave. Now, here's where it gets interesting. His birth was announced by a star in the east and expected 3 wise men. Okay? Star in the east and expected 3 wise men. Now you can go here and see how they're all similar in a lot of ways. Like you see Horus, he's called Christ, K-R-S-T, the anointed one, long before Christians in known history. So this Horus was called Christ already. Horus was Iusa, the eternal son of Ptah. Yisa, the fisher associated. Here's why I want to share it with you. He was born, his birth was announced by the star in the east and expected 3 wise men. Let me share this with you. Let me see if I see it here. I don't think it's here. Hold on. Okay. So I found this link. This brother sent me this link. I appreciate you, man. And I just kind of lost myself now because, let me see. Hold on. Oh, shoot. Well, no. What did I do? Is this the link? Hold on, family. Let me see if I can find the link. Give me a second. I have it over here. Don't give me a hard time today, my friend. Give me a moment here. Give me a second. Open up, dude. Right here. Okay. So this is kind of strange to me. If you look at this particular amulet, this is the cover of this book, okay? It's the cover of this book, okay? If you look at the amulet, you see the history of Morpheus, all right? And we're going to look at some star concepts or words of the star. Here is the depiction. It says that the major part of Rio and Zan's article is a long section by Jonas Rio, who sees no problem with the authenticity in the technological ground. Basically, regarding this amulet, okay, it doesn't necessarily doesn't belong to Jesus. The depiction of the crucified figure is medieval rather than late antiquity, they say supposedly. The cross is Latin in shape as a letter depiction of the crucifixion, other than the T. I think they're talking about this one, right? The depiction of the crucified figure alone, without crucifiers or crucified or devotees, is an unparalleled in antiquity and openly appears later. This is where it gets interesting. The image of the moon, 7 stars, is very strange, but maybe a later development of the early symbolic use of the sun and moon in the images of the crucifixion, with the sun removed in response to the claims of synoptic gospels, and the sun was darkened. Here's where it got kind of how can I say this? Let me see if I can get, man, fuck, I wish I had that. Okay, let me hear the book. Because there's something that I found, family, that I want to share with you. Is it here? Christianity, the writings, Francis, Hinduism. No, that's not it. Hold on, let me close this up. Give me a moment. Ancient modern religions. I think it's here. I was looking through this. My bad. Give me a second. Books on lectures of Gnosis. Revolution, Maya mysteries, treaties, cult, Sophia, metallic, esoteric Kabbalah. Where did I see you? I think it's got to be here. It's got to be there. I saw you here. The way, perfection, initiation of the Christ, Islam, Judaism, others. My guest is. Hold on, let me see if I can get it on my link over here because I don't want to miss this. It's just this part. This part is important. Permíteme un momentito. Yeah, let me show this here. I'm gonna go this. I'm gonna do this. Okay, give me a moment. I couldn't find the link, so I might as well. I have it here. Stop, bro. Follow me, family. All right, same link. I just couldn't find it, okay? So now I'm going to bring you back to this particular part. Remember that mentioned stars, the concept of star, right? Not here. Here. No, not here. Where was it at? Shit. Here. All right? The 7 stars. Okay, so now I'm going to take you back here. The blazing pentagram. You got to realize how important all this shit is, man. Let me read some of this. We proceed to the explanation and the consecration of the sacred and mysterious pentagram. At this point, let the ignorant and superstitious close the book. They will either see nothing but darkness or they will be scandalized. The pentagram, which in Gnostic schools is called blazing star, is the sign of intellectual omnipotence and autocracy. It is the star of the Magi. It is the sign of the world made flesh. According to the direction of its points, this absolute magical symbol represents order or confusion, the divine lamb or Ormuz or Saint John or accursed god of Mendes. It is initiation or profanation. It is Lucifer or Vesper, the star of the morning or the evening. The Mary, the Lilith, the victory of death, the day and night. They are literally telling you right now what that just means right here. I hope you guys don't miss this right there. Do you see this here? So now, when I pull this page up, now it makes sense. Matthew's saying, you know, where is that? Let's see, Matthew 7, let's see, when they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till he came and stood over where the child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced in exceeding great joy. It is the star of Magi. It is the sign of the world made flesh. And according to the direction of its points, this absolute magical symbol represents order or confusion. The divine lamb or of Ormuz and Saint John. You understand this here? You guys realize what we're talking about? Let me read this to you real quick. I'm going to go to this page here. The pentagram with 2 points in the ascendant. Listen, the pentagram with 2 points in the ascendant represents Satan as the goat of the Sabbath. Who is the God of the Sabbath? Who called himself the God of the Sabbath?
Who are you?
Right, that's it. The morning star, the Lucifer itself. And look, I'm not making this up. I'm literally reading it to you. So you got to think about this. If this Jesus character is really of the Creator, how the fuck can they be fucking with him? They're literally telling you what's in the New Testament. The son of the God of the goat of the Sabbath. When 1 point is in the ascendant, it is a sign of the Savior. See? Oh. The pentagram is the figure of the human body, having 4 limbs and a single point representing the head. A human figure, head, towards naturally represents a demon that is intellectually subverging disorder or madness. Now, if magic is reality, if occult science be really true law of the 3 worlds, this absolute sign, this sign ancient as history and now more ancient should and does exercise an incalculable influence upon spirits set free from the material envelope. So you see how this star makes a lot of sense now. Why is it so important to them? The sign of the pentagram is called the sign of the microcosm. You're going to find out who this microcosm is in a little bit. It represents the Kabbalist of the Book of Zohar termed the microprosopus. I'm sorry, the microprosopus. The microprecipice. This complete comprehension of the pentagram is the key of 2 worlds. It is absolute philosophy and natural science. The sign of the pentagram should compose of 7 metals. You see, Jacob's ladder, the 7 levels of man, from as dirty on the bottom as clean and pure as gold, or at least traced in pure gold upon white marble. You see this? It may be also drawn with vermilion on an unblemished lambskin, the symbol of integrity and light. Marble should be virgin, that is, should never have been used for other purposes, lambskin, blah, 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 blah. Then it says here, let me continue here. The pentagram is consecrated with 4 elements. The magical figure is breathed on 5 times. It is sprinkled with holy water. It is dried by the smoke of 5 perfumes, namely incense, myrrh, aloes, sulfur, and camphor, to which a little white resin, ambergris, may be added. Right? The 5 breathings are accompanied with the utterance of the names attributed to the 5 genii, who are Gabriel, Raphael, Anel, Samuel, and Orifiel. Afterwards, the pentacle is placed successively on the north and south, east and west, and center of the astronomical cross. You see this here? So this is where they get the Eliphaz, the Tau, and the Azath, right? Now, watch this. Do not lose track of what we're reading, okay? Where are you at? I'm going to share this with you. Is it here? All right, here we go. The pentagram should be placed upon. Okay, this is just the way it's kind of telling you what to do to invoke some shit. I'm not going to read all that. See right here. All right, so here goes the allegory of the star. All right, but before I do that, let me read this to you guys. It says here, the old magicians traced the sign of the pentagon upon their doorsteps to present evil spirits from entering, yada, yada, yada. Let's do this. Based upon the one dogma of Hermes and on the analogical deductions of science, we have been confirmed invariably by the visions of the aesthetics and the paroxysms, I believe, of the cataleptics, declaring that they are possessed by spirits. Watch. The G, which Freemasons place in the middle of the blazing star, signifies gnosis and generation, the 2 sacred words of ancient Kabbalah. You see this? It signifies also grand architect. I'm going to run down right now. For the pentagram on every side represents an A. Okay? The goat of Mendes. All right? The allegorical star of Magi is no other than the mysterious pentagram. You see this? The allegorical star of the Magi is no other than the mysterious pentagram. So they are embracing this New Testament and saying that in this New Testament, this particular individual, Jesus, right, this young child who was supposed to be, there was like some star, right? And these guys were going to go over there and bring some frankincense and gold and shit. They're embracing it. They're not against it. It's no other than the mysterious pentagram. And those 3 kings, sons of Zoroaster, conducted by the blazing star to the cradle of the microcosmic God. So Jesus is the microcosmic God. All themselves a full demonstration of the Kabbalistic and magical beginning of Christian doctrine. One of these 3 kings is white, another black, another, and the third one brown. This is where they have the nacimientos, the nativity, okay? That's not in the Bible. December 20th, none of that. But you'll see now where they get these processions. The white king offers gold, the symbol of light in life. The black king presents myrrh, image of death and darkness. The brown king sacrifices incense, emblems of consolating doctrines of the 2 principles. Keep in mind that when you look at nativity and you look at the 3 kings, which is January 6th, those are the days that they were reserved specifically by the Egyptians, right? That's when they bring supposedly all of these gifts to the child. You have to understand what all this means. They return thereafter into their own land by another road to show that a new cultus is only a new path, conducting man to one religion, being that of the sacred triad, the Trinity, the radiant pentagram. 1, 2, 3. See this? The radiant pentagram. The sole eternal Catholicism. You see this? You see what I just read? They returned thereafter into their own land, right? Conducting man to one religion, being that of sacred triad and the radiant pentagram, the sole eternal Catholicism. St. John in Apocalypse beholds this same star fall from heaven to earth. It is then called the absinthe of wormwood, and all the waters of the sea become bitter. A striking image of the materialization of dogma, which produces fanaticism and the acridities of controversy. So then, here's what they say this. Then onto Christianity itself may be applied those words of Isaiah. So now they're saying that that's the fallen star, supposedly. But the pentagram profaned by man burns there unclouded on the right hand of the word of the truth. An inspired voice guarantees to him the overcoming the possession of the morning star. A solemn promise of restitution held out to the star of Lucifer. Do you understand what we're reading here? These practices here of the tetragrammaton and all that shit is not far-fetched. Who is this God of Medes? He's a goat instead of a ram. Occultus, the deity was ram-headed. For ram-headed, God associated with fertility, virility, and Baal or soul of Cyrus. He was part of the sacred triad trinity along the consorts, the fish goddess, their child, Horus, their child. See, it's the same concept here. For now, let me get you something really scary. Because this is going to be just like crazy as hell. The Church of Satan. The history of the origin of the sea goat of Baphomet and its use in the Church of Satan. Let me see if I can pull up some of these things here real quick. That was one of the Pentagon 2 points. The Savior, I believe. Yep, that's it. Watch this. Let me do this. Okay, yeah, here it goes. All right, so we're going to go down to this section. Oh, it wasn't too far. We'll say this. We'll start here. The blazing pentagram. The pentagram, which in Gnostic school is called the blazing star, is the sign of the intellectual omnipotence and autocracy. You see this? So, for example, when you go to Matthew, let's say, let's see the E's and then the star, like where does it say there's going to be a star? Where? Now, you know, remember those verses where it says that the star of Moloch, right? Let me write that down. Star of Moloch. Okay? So you can't precept this anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, there's no such thing as a star showing up and shit at all. All right? Or like three kings and shit. Nowhere. There's no such thing. You can try to prove it. You will not find anything. Blazing star. Where are they getting this concept from? Well, the Gnosis, the Satanists, the Luciferians, the Freemasons, Catholics, Christians, BHIs, you guys all know none of this, but this is who you're worshiping. Right? The blazing star is a sign of intellectual omnipotence and autocracy. Why? Because they believe that the Old Testament's God message is not the right way, that the message of Jesus is the right way. They're replacing with him, right? And he is the blazing star, the intellectual, the one that said, I came here to clarify the Old Testament. Supposedly, the Old Testament wasn't clear enough for you guys. So now it's like Jesus had to come and be the intellectual, omnipotent autocracy. It is the star of the Magi. It is the sign of the Word made flesh. And according to the direction of its points, this absolute magical symbol represents order or confusion, the divine Lamb of Ormus or St. John, or the accursed goat of Mendes. It is initiation or profanation. It is Lucifer or Vesper, the star of the morning or the evening. Here is Mary Lilith, victory or death, day and night. The pentagram with 2 points in ascendant represents Satan as the goat, and of the Sabbath, when 1 point ascendant, it is a sign of the Savior. We read earlier that same thing. Right? So now, check this out. I think it's here too. No, is it this one? The go to Sabbath, yeah, it's the same thing. Let me see if I can see something else here. The Middle Ages, King Solomon based the corruption to the New Testament. The oldest agreement, the Testament of Solomon, dating perhaps for a century. Forward, like... Okay, so here we see the shape of man. You see that? What the star means. So this is what they were expecting. Now, they call him Adam. That's why some of you that told me that Jesus was Adam, bro, I'm like, what? I mean, are you practicing this? Or are you not aware that you're saying that? Levi mentions the demon Lilith in the above message, and the Goa'ita image incorporates her name. I don't know what that is. This is basically just some pictures here. See the face upside down, right? The star, the star, the star, the lamb, the star, the lamb. These are the mystery teachings. These mystery teachings have always been this. They've never changed. They believe in the triad, the same concept, right? Don't be fooled, family, man. This shouldn't, how can I say, this shouldn't scare you. If anything, man, you should be more empowered at this point, because now you understand, like, where all of these are coming from. Now you can't be confused. Christianity was not new. It's always been there, just dressed up in a different manner. And you dumbass Christians over here want to say some shit about, oh my God, you guys are worshiping pagans and Satan. Check this out. Under the Krishna religion, or Hindu, I believe, his disciples, well, there's many sects in Hinduism, so I'll just say the Krishna. His disciples gave him the title of Jesus, meaning pure essence. So that name Jesus is not new. It's not new. Mithra, same thing. And all of this right here, it's like constant examples. Why are we going to fall for this? Can't be falling for this. Right? I hope not. There's too much at stake. Is that the book already? I think that's the book, right? Yeah, it is the book. It's too much at stake. Nah, hell no, dude. And I think about the concept of the 7 stars and all that stuff, because, like, where was it at? I think it was in Amos 5. Amos 5 says, seek the Lord and live, right? And here, I believe it talks about the wormwood. Verse 8 says, seek him that maketh the 7 stars and Orions, and turneth the shadows of death into morning, and maketh the dark night, and calleth the waters of the sea, and poureth them out into the face of the earth. The Lord is his name. Right? Here it's telling before, like, don't follow any of these things. I mean, I'm the one that created all of this. Right? The Orions and all that. The reason I'm sharing this with you guys, the 7 stars and the Orion, is because the title of this book, the cover of this book is exactly that. You see that image? Those are 7 stars. And that's like a crescent moon. Okay? So when you read the Oxford Annotated Bible and you see the on the bottom, it actually, shares with you. I thought I put this up there, man. What's wrong? It actually shares with you this right here. Let me do this here. Is it this one? Yeah, I'm gonna move this one up. This one. Hold on a second. No, just that. So on the New Oxford, annotated, okay, at the bottom it says, Pleiades, Orion also occurs together in Job 9, Job 38:31. Though astral bodies could inspire illicit worship, as 2 Kings 23:5 talks about. To the faithful, they testify to God's power. So let's read 2 Kings 23:5. I'm going to share something with you real quick, and I think we're pretty much almost done. 2 Kings 23:5. So it's talking about Joshua's reform, right? So now they're cleaning up the house of the Lord. Okay? Watch what verse 5 says. I'll go to verse 4. And the king commanded Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priest of the second order, and the keepers of the doors to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal, the sun, and for the grove, and for all the host of heaven. Now, if you just read over that, you would think, no big deal. No big deal, right? Not necessarily. If you just walk over it, you're not going to see this here. Sorry, let me do it again. What is it? Second Kings 23. Okay. So let me give you, we'll go to verse 4. Okay. We're going to give you Bible references. Okay. So King James calls him Baal for the grove. Okay. But look what New King James. It says that to bring out the temple of the Lord, all articles that were made for Baal, articles like the New Testament, for Ashereth. So, and the other one says Baal and for the grove, but here it says for Baal, for Ashereth, and for all the hosts of heaven. Ashereth is the mother of Baal. Do you see this? The articles that were used to worship Baal. So here we see the New Translation. Then the king instructed Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priest of second rank, and the temple of gatekeeper to remove the Lord's temple, all the articles. Sorry, let me slow down. And the temple gatekeepers to remove from the Lord's temple all the articles that were used to worship Baal. The incense, the writings, the books, the initiations, right? The processions, the crosses, the Eucharist, the blood, all those teachings, all the stuff that you see Christmas Christians do, same thing. And it says here, not just Baal, but Ashereth, which is the mother, the virgin goddess who gave birth to Baal, but also is the wife. Do you understand? Just like Nimrod, the Trinity concept, no freaking different, and all the powers of the heavens. So, in a sense, he is correct. They would end up worshiping other gods. But you see, when you just read this translation, you think Baal and for the groves, like, they're like out there in the fucking forest and shit. No, this is for Jesus and the Queen of Heaven. Baal is the Queen of Heaven. I'm sorry, Ashereth is the Queen of Heaven, in case you don't know this. Okay, so now let's go to cross-reference. It'll probably take us to Jeremiah, more likely. Is there a Jeremiah in here? Maybe. Let me see. Jeremiah, where are you? It says here, about Jeremiah 7:9, will ye steal, murder, and commit adultery, and serve falsely, and burn incense unto Baal, and walk after other gods whom ye not know? So, in case you don't know this, the Queen of Heaven is who? Queen of Heaven? Sorry. Queen of Heaven. There you go. So, they follow the, what do you call it? The horoscopes. The whole, all of that shit. Saturn, Cancer, fucking Libra, Gemini, and all that crap. Jeremiah, in the same chapter that he actually referenced right now, right? Because it was 7:9. Here it says, the children gather wood and the fathers kindle their fire, and women knead dough to make cake to the Queen of Heaven. Who? The Virgin Mary. The Old Testament has been telling us over and over and over and over and over and over again. Don't follow the way of the heathen. You're going to be dismayed. Trust and believe. And what do you guys do? I'm sorry, let me just include myself. What did we do? We went right after it. I mean, some of us completely gave ourselves to it. So you have to also be mindful of these things, man. We can't just ignore them, you know? And let me see what I got over here. Oh, watch this. So that's what I was talking about regarding the Orpheus, right? It has the 7 stars and the moon and shit. And it says there on verse 5. Sorry, my bad. Verse 5. Let me go back. It says verse 5, I believe. Hold on. Let me close it up. Verse 5, it says, and he put down the idolatrous priest, 2 Kings 23, verse 5, whom the king of Judah had ordained to burn incense in high places in the cities of Judah and in the places round about Jerusalem. It says, them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, Sol Invictus, meaning Baal to the sun, the son of the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and all the host of heaven. You understand that? The moon, the sun, and to the planets, all the hosts of heaven. Or, let me see, hold on, Orpheus, talisman. Here's the images. You see? So don't worship Baal or the sun or the host of heaven or the son of the moon. You see? Virgin Mary. Look at that. Right? Or this is even better. Typical Mexican one. The stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Cosmos. The cosmos. The cosmos. The cosmos. It's fucking nuts, man. It's very crazy, family. And she's also like the Arshereth pole, I believe it's called. Arshereth pole. She's also this shit tier 2, you know? This right here. Let me close that. And you got to be mindful of the stuff that you know we are thinking we know about. Yeah, you got brothers getting mad. They're getting mad because you're showing them exactly where all these things are coming from. Why do you think when you go to the Catholic building like that, the Vatican, inside there's this image of like all of these branches or whatever fucking weird shit? It looks just like that, like the head of that statue. Which is who? They're telling you exactly what they're worshiping. Look, so when this character that was born of a virgin, she's the concept of a tree, a pole. Do you understand? This is the Arshereth pole. The concept of the Arshereth pole is what? A tree, okay? So if you stick with the concept of the Arshereth pole, the goddess of Arshereth, the queen of heaven, the mother of creation, right? Let me close that out real quick. It says, today we embark on a journey through the times and myth back to the ancient Canaanite world, where we'll meet a goddess shrouded in mystery, yet powerful beyond measure. Her name is Asherah, and she was known as the Queen of Heaven, Mother Creation, consort to the storm of God, to the storm god, Zeus. But her story is more than just a footnote in history. It's a testament to enduring femininity. Shh, please. All right? So we see here that, she's a god of the Canaanites. So it's a Hamitic tradition. Basically, the Hamitic nation brought about Christianity. That's a fact. That's why Canaanites love Christianity. That's why they can't get away from that white or black Jesus. Either way, he's still that man, Dionysus, Homer, all that fucking shit, dude. She's the queen of heaven, the feminine form of El, the chief god, the mistress of all the lands, right? Mother of gods, the mother of the sun, S-O-N too. Holiness, liking her sacredness and purity, virginness, pretty much. Canaanite culture and its pantheon gods, we see this here. So they say Canaanites and Israelites believe the universe ruled by God, so to speak, whatever. Yeah, one sure. Let me show this. The goddess of Artemis is primordial mother goddess of the creature of creatress of the gods and mother of 70 gods. She is considered the matriarch, and El was the patriarch. She was the female consort to the Hebrew god Yahweh and was widely worshipped by Israelites, Canaanites, and many others. There is archaeological and textual evidence that in the early history of Israel, she had been seen not only on the consort of El, but also the wife of the Israelite god Yahweh. Oh my God. El was recognized by the Canaanites as supreme deity by the Israelites synonymous to Yahweh, supposedly. You see this? You see this here? This goes way back. Artaret, Lilith, Sumerian, archaeological discoveries. Look it up. And here we see look, watch this. Ashtoreth is further mentioned in the following scripture in 1 Kings 18:19. Now therefore send and gather to me all Israel unto the Mount Carmel, and prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of Ashtoreth 400, that eat at Jezebel's table. And the children of the Israel did which is evil in the sight of the Lord, and forgot the Lord's nature. And forgot the Lord their God. Why say the nature? And served Baalim and the Ashereth. See, served Jesus and the Virgin Mary. Look up Santos Bonici. Let me see. Santos Bonacci. When they see two C's is the chi. Universal Truth School. Let's see what you got. Has been studying the ancient works, researching, comparing, translating to pictures of the 15%. Yeah, I'll check them out. I'll check them out. See what I can find. Looks somewhat interesting. So it says, let's continue. Okay, so now it says here, there are two scriptures that identify Ashtoreth as a goddess in 2 Kings 23:4. You see what I mean? So 2 Kings, instead of 2 Kings, King James 23 says the grove. But if you understand now, it says Ashtoreth. So at every single moment, it's Baal and Ashtoreth. Jesus and the Virgin Mary. Jesus and the Virgin Mary. Jesus and the Virgin Mary. Who are y'all worshiping today? Jesus and the Virgin Mary.
Who are you?
2 Kings, it is documented that vessels in the temple were used to make sacrifices to Ashtoreth as a goddess. In 2 Kings 22:7, women wove garments used to clothe Ashtoreth cult statue, the Virgin Mary. It is again made clear that Ashtoreth is a goddess, Jeremiah 7:18 and 19. It is written that the woman kneaded the dough and made cakes of bread for the Queen of Heaven, referring to Ashtoreth. In Jeremiah 44:17, 18, it says, we find more details about Ashtoreth worship. We certainly do everything we said we would. We will burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and we'll pour out drink offerings to her, just as we did, that we and our ancestors, our kings and our officials did in the town of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. At that time, we had plenty of food and were well off and suffered no harm. But ever since we stopped burning incense to the Queen of Heaven and pouring out drink offerings to her, we have nothing and have been perished by the sword and famine. See? Furthermore, Jezebel is portrayed as an evil queen in the Bible, served the goddess of Ashtoreth. She is a Phoenician princess, the wife of Ahab, She is a devout worshiper of Baal and Asherah. See, so it's like you. Let's say, for example, my wife. She's not, thank God. But let's say my wife was a fucking diehard Christian, Christmas Christian, straight up like that. My wife is a Christmas Christian. It would be just like that. All right, thank you, Father, for not doing that. She is a devout worshiper of Baal, Jesus, and Mary, and an adversary of Yahweh, and the persecutor of his prophets. Constantly telling us, do not become a Christian. Do not become a Christian. Do not become a Christian. And what happens? We all became Christians at one point. See? That's why it is it's imperative, family, that when you're reading this book or verses, get different translations. Make sure that you know exactly what that translation is. Remember, keep in mind that the Asherah pole was also set up as a tree with a cross, meaning she at one point had her arms out. So if you really look at the allegoric aspect of that, she was the tree and he died like on her. Do you understand this? This is how crazy it goes. Asherah in the Talmud. Asherah, and further mentioned in the Talmud text called Avodah Zarah within a legal context. The text which means a foreign worship or idolatry. Right? It says here, there are 3 laws of Asherah forbidden due to idolatry. If a tree was originally planted to be worshipped, it is forbidden. If one cut it, leaving the stump or the branch in order to worship the new growth, if the new growth is removed, the tree is permitted. If idolatry was put in under it and removed it, the tree is permitted. Her sexual riots. It says here that King Joshua torn down the quarters of male shrine prostitutes, which were in the temple of the Lord, where women did weaving for Asherah. In the book of Hosea 4:13 says, they sacrifice on the mountaintop and burn offerings on the hills under oak, popular and Titterbirth, where the shade is pleasant. Therefore, your daughters turn to prostitution and your daughters-in-law to adultery. So all of this sexualization. Why do you think it's still happening right now? Why do you think Christianity could never get rid of that? Even within their own ministries, the girls that go into... Dude, let's put it this way. The biggest hoes go to Christian schools. Seriously. The biggest little hoes go to Christian schools. So I tell you, that's the fact. You hear the worst shit in there. This has led scholars to conclude that the worship of Asherah involved what is called lentious rites. Sacred prostitution was a well-established tradition in ancient Mesopotamia and other regions in the Levant. One example comes from the sexual rites of the goddess Ishtar. Same thing. Priestess who participated in the sacred sex rites were believed to bring blessings and fertility to the land as they reenacted the Hieros Gamos, the sacred marriage of heaven and earth. See? Same concept. She's been around a long time. And a lot of our brothers went back to this fucking thing. And now y'all worshiping the Queen of Heaven, La Reina de los Cielos, the Virgin Mary. Invoke her by using her epithet, Queen of Heaven, Lady of the Sea, Mother of the Gods. So you light a black candle, bird dance, you do all kinds of crazy shit, bro. Like, dude, listen, I'm telling you, family, we need to be very mindful, and very cautious. And at this point now, we cannot leave no thing undone. Now these books are making sense now, aren't they? Now when I'm bringing these things out, this is Krishna right here. This is Krishna. The concept of Krishna. Died on a cross. Nailed in his hand and shit. All of that stuff right there. It's right there. It's on this one. Nailed in his... Let me see if I can magnify it. See if you can see it. You see the amulet or the hole in his forehead? The hole in his hand, right? The 5 points. Burning on a pole. So if you look at the Asherah pole, she's standing like this, a tree with branches out. Yeah, that's Yahweh. No, that's not even the God, our creator at all. Not whatsoever. And then when you start looking at these things like the two Babylons, the goddess mother and son from Babylon, Janus in his club, Diana of Ephesus, three-horned head of Tigral, the triad, three-horned cap of Vishnu. You see, now when we read the two Babylons, now when you see it with new eyes, with like, wait a minute, okay, now it's making sense. Now go back to these books. And it's like, be like, oh, okay, I got you now. So when we think about, oh, the Queen of Heaven was a Nimrod shit, it was just one time. No, it kept going over and over and over and over and over, and it's here today. It's here today. Let me see if I can find this here. I saw it. He added, oh, let me read this. Hold on. That's right. I almost forgot about this. Oh, man, thank you. I just almost forgot. Page 116 says, I asked what the horse was meant for, and I was told it represented all cattle. Here adds the Authorus was the old pagan worship of Baal, if not of Moloch too, created openly and universal in the heart of nominally Christian countries, and by millions professing the Christian name. So let me show you this real quick, and then that's it, okay? Because I want to share this with you. Star of, I believe Amos 25. Yep, Amos 5:25. It says, but ye have burned the tabernacle of Moloch and the Sheem your image, the star of your God, which made you yourselves. So then now, what is Moloch and Sheem? Right? What does all that mean? So we go to Amos real quick. Oh, sorry. Amos 5:26. But ye have borne the tabernacle of Moloch and the Sheem of your images, the star of your God. So a lot of us would say, oh, that's the six-pointed star. No, not always. It's also Jesus. Who is Moloch? The god of the Amorites, the Phoenicians, to whom some Israelites sacrificed their infants in the valley of Hinnom. Meaning who? Sacrificed infants. Why? Because they expected a child to be born, a star that would die for the sins of man. So these children would come and they would sacrifice them, eat their flesh, drink their blood. If I dig deep, I can guarantee you I can make the connection once more. It's not complicated. Now, who is this Sheem? Or Keum? How do you say it?
Strong's H 3594. Kiyun. Kiyun.
Probably a statue of the Assyrian Babylonian god of the planet Saturn, used to symbolize Israelite apostasy, which more likely was kind of like Zeus, the image of Jesus. It's non-stop repetitiveness, isn't it? Let me leave you with some of these videos real quick. Here, I'm going to show you this. I think it's important what he says. It's a minute long, but it's like, listen to this. He says that they're acting like Romans, okay? Just a couple videos and we're out. They're acting like Romans, all right? Watch this. This is interesting because technically you guys are them.
Happening right now in Israel could basically destroy or void 2,000 years of Jewish thinking and culture and existence. That's the worst case scenario. What did you mean by that?
You know, when the Roman legions of Vespasian destroyed Jerusalem in 70 CE, and you have Yochanan ben Zakkai asking Vespasian as a favor, grant me a small town called Yavne, where he wants to establish a center of learning. And Vespasian agrees, okay, you Jews, you can have your center of learning. And this was the essence of being Jewish. And a lot of the thinking about what does it mean to have freedom of thought, what does it mean to be a powerless minority, was done by Jewish thinkers. And for 2,000 years, Jews all over the world, they see studying and learning as the highest spiritual activity. And after 2,000 years, you have learned, you've studied for 2,000 years. What have you learned? And then people like Netanyahu tell you, oh, we've learned that you need to be a Roman, that you need to be strong, that you need to build legions, that you need to destroy cities. This is the only thing. This is the only thing that matters in life. After 2,000 years, the Jews simply become the Romans. What was the point?
Bam. Because you guys are those people. You guys are those people. Check this out.
Interesting. Shalom. I'm Ace, and I'm an Indo-Palestinian Jew descended from the Palestinian Jews in Old Yishuv of pre-48 Safad and Tiberius. And yes, we exist. Although I do understand why there's a narrative being pushed that we don't, because if Zionists acknowledge that Jewish Palestinians exist, they also have to admit that Zionism isn't actually about Jewish self-determination and Jewish safety for all Jews, and neither is the State of Israel. In fact, the only anti-Semitism I've personally faced is from Zionists, who, as you can see in a lot of my comment sections, call me a fake Jew, not a real Jew, not Jewish enough, my favorite, a capo. It's vitriolic, the type of hatred that they spread against me, simply because I have Palestinian heritage, and I find it very hypocritical, but I'm not surprised. This is in fact the true nature of Zionism, and it always has been. And just like Palestinians and Jews alike, Palestinian Jews are not a monolith. Not all Palestinian Jews were Old Yishuv, and not all Old Yishuv identified as Palestinian Jews. But there's a lot of people trying to tell us how we identify and how our families identify. We know who we are, I know who I am, and you don't get to tell us that.
Por ejemplo, también, que ni siquiera nacen oficialmente como un cártel, sino que nacen como un grupo de élite y que fueron entrenados por Israel. Sabemos todas unas redes en donde esto va de narcotráfico, esto va de política, y esto es inherentemente político porque también sabemos, por ejemplo, que muchas de las mujeres que eran asesinadas en Gaza por Israel, pues se robaban sus cuerpos. ¿Para qué? Pues no sabemos si para robarles los órganos. Cuando hablamos de precisamente de que el régimen Epstein antecede y trasciende al propio Epstein, pues también tenemos que hablar de qué rol ha jugado Israel en México, en América Latina. O sea, hablando de México, hasta hace no mucho éramos el cliente número 1 de Pegasus, una tecnología de espionaje israelí. ¿Y para qué se usaba el Pegasus? No solo por el Estado, también por los cárteles y también para aterrorizar a las familias, por ejemplo, de los 43 desaparecidos de Ayotzinapa. O sea, era inherentemente político. Sabemos que desde mucho antes, por ejemplo, en medio de la Guerra Sucia, que cuando empezaron las prácticas de los vuelos de la muerte en América Latina, que fue en México, pues que se usaban aviones israelíes, los aviones Araba, creados específicamente para esas prácticas, y que luego serían exportados al resto de dictaduras militares. Entonces, sabemos esta red que no solo es sionista, no solo es estadounidense, no solo es imperialista, sino que también tiene a esa trata y a ese abuso sexual como parte sistémica de su engranaje. Ya empezó.
I think that it's extremely, well, I mean, I've said it to you before, but I don't know if you know this, man, but these people have been involved in the politics over there in Mexico for a long time. And, you know, the problems that you see a lot of Mexico goes through, cartel and all that, it's managed by them. So in no way, shape, or form am I defending these small hat mofos. Not at all. I know they don't like the New Testament. I'm not here to defend them. I'm debunking their bullshit. I've done it many, many, many times. So please don't come to my channel and try to think that we're friends. We're not. We are enemies. And I'm going to always keep it that way. And I hope all you Hebrew Israelites start waking up, man. Take charge of this information, dissect it for yourself, and actually determine it. You know what I mean? Don't just go by what I'm sharing with you. But I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that you're going to find anything that will justify otherwise, man. It's too much information, too many things, too many similarities, too many coincidences that cannot be coincidental anymore. This is the religion that they gave us, and you know what? We have to separate ourselves from that shit. What up, bro? What the hell are you? What up, Kuya? What up, bro? Oh, what up, Orby? Real? One of the first depictions of Jesus by Romans had him using a wand. Druids supposedly use the wand holy wood. Yeah, they call it holy wood.
I'll touch on that another day, man. I'm glad you brought it up because I want to stick to 2 hours at least. All right. Other than that, man, you guys have a good night. Thank you for your support. What up, Paulo? Good to have you here. I think I said what's up to everybody so far. Yep, I did. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed the show, Chicloso. Inside joke. Excuse me. Give me a moment. All right. Let me see this real quick. Give me a moment. Let's see what we got. There's a couple of songs that I've been playing lately that I like a lot, but I'm going to do something different today. Maybe I can add some history to our fight. Because at this point, that's what it is, man. We are basically fighting for our heritage. Good night, fam.
Esta tierra no solo se pisa, se lleva en la sangre.
Nacimos del barro, del maíz, del fuego antiguo y de una memoria
que nunca pudieron borrar. Aunque quisieron arrancarnos el origen, la tierra sagrada sigue hablando.
En cada herida,
en cada canto,
en cada latido.
Traigo barro en la garganta y el jaguar en la mirada. Mi palabra viene vieja, viene bien desenterrada. De pirámides calladas, de la piedra y del machete. De la raza que hizo historia con el hambre de jinete. No soy moda de vitrina ni souvenir para el turismo. Soy la voz de los abuelos respirando en este ritmo. Traigo el surco en la memoria, la obsidiana en intención. Y una patria bien herida retumbando en el pulmón. De Tenochtitlan al barrio del fogón, al pavimento de la milpa al callejón. Donde sobrevive el viento, somos hijos de la lluvia, del maíz y del desvelo. Con los pies sobre la tierra y el coraje viendo al cielo. Aquí el sol pega macizo, pero más pega la historia. Cada cicatriz del pueblo viene escrita en la memoria. Nos quisieron arrancar el origen de un solo tajo, pero el árbol de esta tierra creció firme desde abajo.
Tierra sagrada, sangre pesada, voz ancestral en la ciudad maltratada. Somos del lodo, del fuego y del canto.
Si cae uno se levantan un chingo en el asfalto.
Tierra sagrada, vibra enterrada, furia del pueblo jamás arrodillada. Traigo a mi raza sonando en el pecho.
México vive aunque el mundo lo mire deshecho. Yo vengo de una cultura que no cabe en un museo, que sigue viva en la calle, en la cocina y el deseo. En la jefa que trabaja con el alma bien partida y aún así le da a sus hijos media fuerza para la vida. En el barrio está el pasado respirando entre la gente, en el nopal, en el rezo, en la mirada del valiente, en el danzón de los viejos, en el son y en la marimba, en el puño que no tiembla cuando la injusticia brinca. No me hable de conquista como si ya estuviera muerto. Si aún camina entre nosotros todo el pulso del desierto, todo el canto de la sierra, todo el trueno del tambor, toda abuela que en silencio nos sembró fuerza y valor. Somos mezcla de ceniza, de deidad y de metralla, de la herida que no llora, de la voz que nunca falla, de la noche en los altares del copal y la avenida, de esta tierra que se parte pero siempre sigue viva.
Y si preguntas quién soy,
soy la sombra de mis muertos
y el orgullo de mis vivos.
Soy un grito subterráneo,
soy el barro hecho sonido,
soy la memoria de esta tierra,
rimando crudo y encendido.
Traigo barras con espinas, con sabor a realidad. No le canto a fantasías, le escupo a la falsedad. Porque el pueblo de mi tierra se hizo duro en la tormenta, con el hambre en los bolsillos, pero el alma bien violenta, violenta para resistir, no pa' doblarse ante el patrón, pa' cuidar lo que es sagrado aunque lo cerque el ladrón. Porque aquí la dignidad no se presume, se defiende, y el que viene de los ancestros sabe bien de dónde asciende. Desde el templo hasta la esquina, desde el cerro a la unidad, hay un eco de los antiguos caminando en la ciudad. Somos tierra, somos trueno, somos rabia organizada, somos voces del pasado en una pista encabronada. Que no vengan a explicarnos lo que vale nuestra historia, si crecimos entre ruinas convirtiéndolas en gloria. Si nos dieron puro golpe y contestamos con aguante, con el pecho bien abierto y el espíritu gigante.
Tierra sagrada, sangre pesada, voz ancestral en la ciudad maltratada. Somos del lodo, del fuego y del canto.
Si cae uno se levantan un chingo en el asfalto.
Tierra sagrada, vibra enterrada, furia del pueblo jamás arrodillada. Traigo
lo mire deshecho.
Tierra sagrada,
Maíz, piedra, sangre y memoria.
si el mundo quiere enterrarnos,
Que le quede claro,
nosotros nacimos
para volver desde el...
Ical, hijo, abre los ojos. Tu cuerpo se queda con nosotros, pero tu espíritu debe seguir. Busca la luz. Aléjate de las sombras. Deja que nuestro dolor sea tu fuerza. Desde aquí iluminamos tu camino. Lucha como nosotros ante esta pena tan grande. Yo soy tú. Tú eres yo. La muerte que hoy nos separa, mañana volverá a unirnos. Eres libre, hijo.